Sober Sundays with Mike Mechow. And we're here with Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Mike.
We are at Flawed Media in Rockville Center. And shout out, of course, to Jay holding us down. So, Christina, I'm very excited to have you on here for many reasons. I think how I got you here is that I said I needed a strong woman in recovery, which you couldn't say no to that. I forgot what I was going to say, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Christina.
Wait, I remember.
Okay.
I wanted to say that you didn't say no, and that this is something that you're doing this. I think the real reason is to try to help another woman or somebody, anyone else out there. So you thinking of others, you're willing to put yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah, like I think that there are a lot of women, especially that struggle from addiction, or men too, not just women, but I'm a woman, so especially women that struggle with addiction. And if anything I say today can like touch them or inspire them or help get them into the door of a detox or a rehab, and it gets their journey started, then so be it.
And how do you feel about being called a strong woman in recovery?
It's ironic because this was not the journey that I had planned for myself. If you asked me 6 years ago, would I be able to live a life without alcohol? I would have told you absolutely not. Because I thought that my calling was to go work in Vegas and work in the bars and drink. And I thought that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So the fact that I get to help others is truly an honor and a privilege. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to come here and to talk to you and to talk to whoever's listening out there.
Now, what is the definition of somebody who's recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body of addiction?
It's a good question. So to me, to be recovered, right, is to no longer wake up and be shackled, right, to this disease, to no longer be a slave to alcohol. I wake up today and I'm free from that obsession. I no longer have a mind that's racing, that's thinking about exactly how I'm going to drink. Is there enough money by the laundry that I could steal, or like spare change that I could steal? Is my bank account emptied? That's the furthest thing from my mind. I wake up today and my first thought is really to align with God, the God of my own understanding. And I think to be recovered, me and Joe talk about it all the time, like it's just like this heightened state of consciousness.
But not cured.
I'll never be cured of alcoholism. I will die an alcoholic, but I will die a recovered alcoholic.
All right. So how does one get started in your drinking career?
So I think before I ever picked up a drink, I was restless, I was irritable, discontent, a prey to misery and depression. Like I just wanted to escape life, really. If someone had this picture perfect life, I just wanted to live. I would live vicariously through them. And the first time I ever had a drink, I was 15 years old in the creek.
Sounds about right.
And it was literally a spiritual experience, like I remember that first drink and it was a spiritual experience, and like I couldn't wait to do it again the following weekend. That anxiety dissipated. I actually heard someone say this, so I'm gonna recycle it, right? Like I felt prettier, wittier, and tittier. like I just had this confidence, like that's what alcohol did for me.
Sounds like a solution.
It gave me a solution to what my problems were, and then eventually what happened is that it just started to add more problems. It was no longer a solution.
Alcoholism, family disease?
It is. I do have, people in my family that do suffer from this
I think
illness.
we all do. Okay, so how does your drinking from that one time get you to?
So like I said, I think like the mental part was taking like place, like from the very beginning. I obviously didn't see that or know that. But I couldn't wait to do it. I was drinking from every weekend to adding days into school. I remember one time like me and my friends went to a club. We were like 17. And like I just remember like my like PE teacher being like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, go home, go get water. Like, you know, what are you doing coming to school? Like messed up, you know? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm fine. Do you want an omelet?
So tell us a little bit about the progression for you.
So for me, like you know, I graduated 12th grade. I went to 13th grade, Nassau Community College. And I was drinking at those bars. And then...
Were you having fun?
I was having fun. I would get kicked out a lot of the time before I even went in. I was not a stranger to trying to start fights or fighting either. Yes, I have like 2 different personalities or maybe 50 different personalities when I drink, and I never know which one is going to come out. But for me, like it would be, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then eventually like it would just progress to Wednesday, and then all of a sudden Sunday's next to Monday. So like it just becomes like this full-blown thing, and eventually like I'm calling out of work. It's just becoming unmanageable, but I'm the last person that can see that.
Were you trying to control your drinking?
Yeah, like I remember there was an instant, I had like signed up for a race when I was in college when I went to CW Post, and I thought that if I like signed up for this race, it would help me to not drink. And then somehow I ended up at a bar and I found myself drinking, and I like literally said to myself, how the hell did I get here? I literally said I wasn't going to drink, no intention of drinking. I'm going to be the designated driver, not the designated drunk driver. And there I am. I'm drinking again, you know. And,
did you do the race?
I did do the race.
How'd
it was
you
a
do?
Spartan race. I did well, actually.
All right, good.
But like, it just went to show that like no matter what I tried to do to control it, it was never enough.
How about attempts at putting it down altogether?
Yeah, like I would have like these countless vain attempts to put the drink down, and sometimes I would put the drink down for like a week. What
was that like, putting it down for a week?
In the beginning, it wasn't that hard in the beginning, you know, like I could like still like put it down, but then like, I don't know. I know now what drove me to pick up that first one, but then I like didn't understand like why I would pick it up. Or I guess I thought I was consciously making a decision to change my mind. What I didn't know is that like I have a mind that takes me back to the first one every single time. And yeah, so like I don't know. Like I've tried to, I think I had like a time where I was like 30 days without a drink, and I'm like, oh wow, like look, I made it a whole month. Like I could definitely like do this. And what I didn't know is that I have a disease that is constantly progressing, and I need a recovery process with
or without the alcohol.
Yeah, and I need a recovery process that's going to progress past that. Like you said before, like I'm not cured because I have, you know, my disease is constantly progressing. But as long as I'm progressing in recovery and like I keep that channel open between God and myself, like I think I'll be good, you know?
Can you tell us a little bit about the disease?
Yeah, so, you know, like I said, I have people in my family who also suffer from this. And what I didn't know is that it wasn't until like my own experience and having my own recovery did I realize that or I found out and I learned that I have a physical allergy to alcohol. And I have this mind that takes me back to the drink. So I get taken back to the drink by my mind. I put the alcohol in my system and all bets are off. You know, like that first drink wants a second, the second insists on a third, so on and so forth. And that really the problem centers in my mind and not in my body.
A threefold disease.
I have a threefold illness, which only a spiritual experience will conquer.
So some attempts at stopping, slowing down. Mm-hmm. And then what happens?
Well, I was trying to change like what I was drinking too, because I thought if I just drank like the hard stuff, like hard liquor, that maybe that was the problem. But then it really doesn't matter because eventually you run out. So then you just start picking up the hard stuff anyway. So it didn't really matter.
Now you have never gone to treatment, correct?
I have never gone to treatment. I do recall a time where I like was begging my mom. I had a family friend who was down in Florida. He was living in sober living, and he like knew I was an alcoholic, and he really tried to help me. And like he had me send him like my insurance and stuff like that. And I like tried to beg my mom to like let me go down to treatment in Florida, and she was like, absolutely not. Like, you're just gonna bring yourself there, and you're not going.
So what happened?
So I didn't end up going to treatment, and I just continued to drink, and then eventually other substances became a part of my story too.
We like other substances.
I did like other substances.
So what brought you to the point, maybe a dark moment? What brought you to the point to do something or to do something different?
I don't know because my last drink wasn't anything crazy. I can say that I was arrested for a DWI and put on probation, and that didn't stop me from drinking, making a firm resolution and meaning it with my heart and soul. I didn't want to do it. It didn't stop me. I just stopped going home after a while. I figured if I stopped going home, then I wouldn't get caught. In case my PO came to my house, I just wouldn't get caught. But my last drunk wasn't anything crazy. I think it was just that guilt and that shame and that remorse of just having no purpose or no direction in my life. It just everything sucked. I was 25 when I eventually got sober, but you watch your peers, you watch people buying houses and getting married and doing all of these things, and I wasn't doing any of that.
But you are now.
But I am now, yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the beginning of your recovery?
Yeah, so
Is it as hard as people say?
No. It's just staying consistent and continuing to put in the work and not resting on my laurels. Just because I have time, doesn't mean that I can just stop doing what I'm doing. For me, it's a process of just continuing. And what I've learned thus far is the more work I put into my recovery, the more freedom I get, the more freedom that's on the other side.
So physically, you're not addicted to alcohol. No. Mentally, what's going on mentally as you're getting sober?
In the beginning or now?
In the beginning.
So, for me, my first 10 months of, I'll say sobriety, because I really wasn't in a fellowship. I wasn't working a program. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay.
I was just resting on God's grace. And what I didn't know is that God's grace has an expiration date, and mine was coming up, and
countdown.
Yeah, what I learned from that experience is that I was worse off without a drink. I still exhibited those same behaviors that I did when I was drinking.
The restless,
and I don't need alcohol. I don't need alcohol in my system, like you said, to be dying of alcoholism. I cannot have a drink in my system and be just as bad. Still be this self-centered, selfish individual who is running on every defect of character known to man.
How does one live like that? Suicide an option?
For me, I'm a wuss, so no. I just would have lived in misery, or eventually
picked up.
I would have picked up. That was inevitable, and that's where I was kind of headed within that 10-month span. I was thinking about a drink, and I knew I'm either A, I'm gonna pick up a drink, or B, I'm gonna die of this disease, or C, I could just do something different and be willing to try something different.
And that's what you did?
And that's what I did.
So what's this other side, this spiritual side? What's this all about?
So I'm involved in a 12-step fellowship, which, there's accountability, there's work that gets done, it's an inside job. I always thought if I tried to change my outside that it would fix my inside. Mm-hmm. And it's not true at all. Really, I have this internal condition, and the work that gets done in this fellowship treats that. It gets me connected to a higher power. And then from getting connected to a higher power, my attitudes, my behaviors, something within me just changes, And I think I thought that things were happening to me. And what I learned as a result of this process and this journey is that nothing was ever happening to me. It was happening it was happening from me. It was actually coming from me, not ever happening to me.
So the alcoholism and addiction is progressive. What about recovery, spirituality? Is that also progressive?
Absolutely. It's about really enlarging my spiritual life. So I read other spiritual books, I look for like different kinds of prayers. I listen to spiritual tapes, podcasts, stuff like that. And like I just continue to like seek, because I find that the more that I seek, the more in sync I feel, like mind, body, like soul, like I could feel like that present moment type of thing, where I was never in the present moment, if that makes sense. Like I feel like I always lived in the past, which I couldn't change that, and the future, which like it didn't exist. So like I had no business being in there.
How about working with other women and helping other women?
That's been like the bright spot of my life. I remember like not wanting to help other people, because I feel like in the beginning you're like, oh, I have nothing. And like that's really where like the magic is. Like that's where the magic happens. It's when I go and I work with another woman and I see this woman come in that's just as lost as I was, and then all of a sudden like you just see it click. Like for me, I'm like, aha. And I feel like as we walk this journey shoulder to shoulder together, not only are they teaching me, but we get to grow together. And that for me is really like where things started to change for me, was when I started to take another woman through this work.
So tell us about Christina's life today. What does it look like?
Christina's life today. Well,
you're employed. We know that.
I'm employed. I'm engaged.
Oh.
I'm employed. I work for an alcohol, drug detox and rehab in New York City.
What's that like?
I do their admissions, right? And I had no experience. And it's actually funny how that came about. I think I might have like told you like at the time. But what happened was I was personal training, and it was really hard to make a living. Like it got to a point where I was like putting groceries back and like stuff like that. And I remember they were going to give us like some type of document to sign where you couldn't work for other people. I can't think of like what that word is. And then, but then this opportunity came to work for this alcohol, drug detox and rehab. So in one hand, I have a letter where I have to sign where it's going to limit what I can and can't do. And I'm praying and asking for a sign, and I check my email and I have an offer letter in my email. And like, that's how God shows up in my life.
What's it like working there?
I feel like it's like a reminder that even though I'm in recovery and I work for a recovery center, that like the two are very different. And my recovery doesn't come from my work. Like it's great that I get to share it, but I also have to be all in my own recovery, and that's my own journey and my job. Like I'm getting paid for that, and I try to keep that separate.
Yeah. But I think they connect.
They connect, yeah, because when I'm on the phone with somebody, like I'm able to use my experience to help that person, to let them know that, hey, like I've been where you're at. I've felt those feelings too. And like that there's hope on the other side. And it's always a good feeling when you hear someone on the other side of the phone say, okay, like maybe I could do this too.
Do you feel like patients or potential patients kind of listen to you because your words are carrying like depth and weight? And
I think so. I think
it's not coming from a textbook.
It's not coming from a textbook. It's not coming from a person who's never experienced it. So I think that it does hold depth and weight. I think just knowing, like for me, like when I walked into, a fellowship and saw people who were just like me, who I didn't even have to say anything, and like they just knew what I was thinking. Like I feel like when one alcoholic like connects with another, and one addict connects with another addict, like you just know, like you instantly feel like, okay, I could take a breath. Like this person knows exactly what I've gone through, what I'm going through. They get it.
All right, tell us a little bit about dating in the rooms.
Well, I mean, I didn't, it wasn't my plan. It wasn't my plan. But I started, hanging out with this individual, and, I remember one night we went bowling, and it was the first time we actually sat down and talked and like had a conversation. I was like, oh, like there's something there. And then, long and behold, like we hung out, and then from that day forward, we've been inseparable ever since.
You got engaged that night?
No. But I knew he was the one after our first date. I knew it. I just knew it. I had that like intuitive feeling that he was the one. No, we got engaged last August.
All right. Congrats.
Thank you.
So tell us what's in the future for Christina.
What's in the future? Well, definitely a wedding. Maybe a baby after the wedding. I don't know. God's plan. Or maybe the baby will come before. I don't know. I would like to continue to work for. I would like to continue to work for the treatment center that I work for. Maybe eventually move out of admissions and find another role. I don't know. Whatever happens. But yeah, like eventually buying a home, like doing all those things that I wanted to do and never thought I would be ever capable of doing. And then I get this life and like I'm able to start seeing that like those things are starting to come to life.
Does all that future, like, do you have a chance of getting all that stuff without keeping your recovery a priority?
I have to keep my recovery as a priority. I'll share this, like because I don't often talk about it, but when I got the job, like in the treatment center, you know, it was like I got engaged and I got this new job, and I started to think that like, oh, I don't need to do this, or oh, I don't need to do that, and I forgot that like for that split second, right, like that this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and it's insidious, and it comes in subtle ways, and it comes in the form of I don't need to do this or I don't need to do that, and I start, you know, acting out. And my fiance was just like, Christina, in the 5 years that we've been dating, like I've never seen like this side of you, like what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. So no, for me, like this, like God has to be first and foremost. Always that connection needs to be unblocked between him and I, and any work that gets done, like it needs to get done for recovery first. And when that stuff gets done in that order, everything else that I have, it comes into fruition.
Are there any women out there that you can't help or you wouldn't help?
No. I would, if I don't care who it is, if you're my enemy, if I didn't like you, if you were a person I might have hated in the past, like if someone comes to me for help, I'm going to help you.
Would somebody with like a huge drug and alcohol problem there's no hope for this person, you're willing to help?
Yeah, I mean, like I've sponsored women, you know, that, you know, I've worked with women who, you know, they continue to go out and it's a struggle, but it was told to me that like I don't determine when someone's ready, you know. I just try to be the vessel or the instrument that God uses, and as long as that person's open and they're willing to do whatever it is that they need to do, like God is way bigger than a pill, God is bigger than a drink, and you know, it's his time, not mine.
All right, one more question. What about on the opposite side? A woman maybe with not really an alcohol problem or a drug problem, but kind of wants what you have and wants that recovery.
So I've actually taken some women, you know, through, because, you know, they were attracted, you know, but like, and I get to see like their lives like come together too, which is beautiful, you know. And then I've also like seen like some women just like they didn't stick around because, you know, the truth is they weren't the real deal, you know. And they didn't stick around because they really weren't one of us, you know. They were attracted maybe to the spiritual aspect of it. And I've also guided women to, you know, other women, you know, that might be able to help them better than I could.
Do you like working with different types of people? Well, like, do you get more out of it with working with, you know, a different type of person?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could work with really any person. I feel like any woman I work with is, like, they're all unique in their own ways, you know, and I feel like we sit down and we walk this journey together, and, like, it doesn't even matter how different we are because we're one and the same.
Okay. All right, so what else do you want to share before we close out?
Well, for anyone out there who's struggling, who doesn't think that there's a way out, there really is a solution. And I think more importantly too, for family members, I think it's important too to know that if you have a loved one or a friend that's struggling, they're not choosing to drink, right? Like, I've drank beyond, you know, my will. They don't have power, you know, and but there is a solution. There really is a way out, and it really just takes being open, willing, and honest, and just trying something maybe that you've never tried. I've had my reservations too, but there really is a way out.
And somebody can get sober and clean without going to rehab?
Yeah, like it's possible. That's not my story. You know, I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go to treatment. I think the pain for me just got so great. And yeah, like you don't have to go to rehab to be an alcoholic or to be an addict, you know. Everyone's stories are going to be slightly different, and I think it's really important to hit that on the head, that you don't have to go to rehab. It never has to get that bad. You know, like you never have to be that low bottom, because I thought I needed to be a low bottom in order to fit in, or in order to be, you know, an alcoholic. And the truth is it never has to get that bad. And everyone's story is their story. It's unique to them. And like we have these experiences because they're going to benefit someone else.
And you're happy?
I'm very happy. I live a life today that's happy, joyous, and I'm just free. Like, you know, I could be present. Like, what a gift.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you.
And if anybody wants to reach out to Christina, they can. You can reach out to me or SoberSundayPodcast.com. Thank you.